Boker Tov, everyone. Shavua Tov. What else happened in the past 24 hours? Not much interesting. The only other interesting thing that happened in the past 24 hours of the last week is unfortunately there was no shear last week because Mr. Logie had bad internet connection, which is quite ironic, but whatever. So there was no shear for last week. Apologies for that one. But this week we wanted to start a new segment, the Stooge Big Torah Metaverse, the wider universe of Torah study. And we're thinking now that we've concluded yesterday, for those who are in the loop, we concluded Masechet Rosh Hashanah, or at least we try to, if you're following the Daf Yomi cycle. So we're going to make a conscious effort to do a monthly or fortnightly Daf class. So we thought now is the best time than ever to start Tannit. We're obviously just starting now as the first page of Tannit, and we can go through it together, considering we're doing it in English, obviously, because we're both terrible in our Aramaic, as we discussed earlier before I hit record. So we're gonna just go through the Daf in English, and we're gonna have a few discussions and a bit of a see and see what happens. Yeah. All right. So I'm not sure what the format for this is going to be. I recommend I read the Mishnah. That's obviously the first part, and then you read the Rabbanim. So from Rabbi Yeshua.
Yeah.
Does that sound like a decent idea?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the Mishnah. So, i.e., from which date does one begin to mention the might of the rains? So this is what we're already talking about Shivarucham or the Geshem, right? From when you start saying it. But inserting the phrase, he makes the wind and blow and the rain fall in the second blessing of the Amidah, see? And this is where Rabbi Eliezer says the phrase is inserted from the first festival day of the festival of Sukkot, and then Rabbi Yeshua says from the last day of the festival of Sukkot. All right. So, Ron, you pick up from here.
Rabbi Yeshua said to Rabbi Eliezer, since rain is nothing other than a sign of a curse during the festival of Sukkot, as rainfall forces Jews to leave their Sukkot, why should one mention the might of rain during this period? Rabbi Eliezer said to him, I too do not say that it is proper to request rain at this time, but it is proper only to mention the phrase, who makes the wind blow and rain fall in its due time. Rabbi Yosha said to him, if so, i.e., if reciting the phrase does not constitute a request for rain, one should always mention rain, even in the summer. That's interesting.
Right. So we already have an interesting point here, and this is why I've enjoyed the Gemara so much recently. Just that I can. It's almost like I find it's almost like being in the same room as the Rabbanim as they're doing each michlokes, as they say, each argument.
Yeah, I love the way these minor details are discussed and the intentions and like
very
just gets broken down philosophically. It's just amazing.
Good stuff. All right. So the Mishnah states a general principle: one requests rain only immediately preceding the rainy season. Rabbi Yeshua says, with regard to the one who passes before the ark, his prayer leader on the concerning festival day, the festival of Sukkot, the 8th day of the assembly, the last prayer, the leader who leads the additional prayer mentions rain, whereas the first prayer leader for the morning prayer does not mention the rain. The opposite is the case at the conclusion of the period for mentioning rain on the first day of the festival of Passover. Here, the first prayer leader, the first prayer leader who leads the morning prayer mentions the rain, while the last prayer leader who leads the additional prayer does not mention the rain. Okay, so Grant, you read the Gemara. What does the Gemara say?
The Gemara asks, where does the Tana of the Mishnah stand that he teaches from when? The Mishnah's opening question indicates that it has already been established that there is an obligation to mention rain at this time of the year. Where is this obligation stated? Gemara answers the Tana is standing there, i.e., he bases himself on a Mishnah in Brachot. As it teaches in Brachot 33a, one mentions the might of the rains and recites, he makes the wind blow and the rain fall. In the second blessing of the Amidah prayer, the blessing of the resurrection of the dead and the request for rain, and grant dew and rain as a blessing, is recited in the ninth blessing of the Amidah prayer, the blessing of the years, and the prayer of distinction, Havdalah, between the sacred and the profane, recited in the evening prayer following Shabbat and festivals, is recited in the fourth blessing of the Amidah prayer, who graciously grants knowledge. And it is based on that Mishnah, which establishes the obligation to request for rain, that this Mishnah teaches. From when does one begin to mention the might of the rains?
Okay, so what do we learn from here? Okay, so we have here mentioning a few things. We have Havdalah. So I'm going to go back just slightly to where the Gemara was reciting. And it says, the Tana is standing there, i.e. he bases himself on a Mishnah and the Brachot. Okay, so Brachot, as the Quran read, Brachot 33a, and then I'm not going to read the same passage again because it will be repeating myself. But I am going to say that the blessing of the, so those that are looking at, because I lost my place now. Okay, the blessing of the years, there we go, the blessing of the Havdalah, between the sacred and the profane. So, as the Rabbanim are saying here, this is one who grants knowledge, and this is a Mishnah, and this is, in a way, this is similar to where we distinct, where we draw the line between the rains and the dew, right? With Mashiach and Amor. And so this is where the Gemara asks. This is carrying on now with the Gemara. But if so, let the Tana teach this halacha there in the tractate Brachot, at the beginning of the order. Zeraim, what's this? This is the abbreviations that I just don't know yet. Zeraim, what is the difference about this case? And he left it until here. Towards the end of the order, more in the other words, if this issue is indeed a continuation of the Mishnah in Brachot, why did the Tana neglect it until tractate Tannit? So it's saying, if this is in Brachot, as in if this Mishnah comes from Brachot, why was it, delayed basically until the tractate of Tannit? And so the Gemara answers. Do you mind if I carry on here, Grant?
Yeah, go for it.
Sounds cool, thank you. And so the Gemara answers, rather the Tana interpreted this discussion from tractate of Shana. So this is from our last Masechta. As we learned in the Mishnah there, and on the festival of Sukkot, all creatures are judged for water, since the Tana brought, and on the festival of Sukkot, all creatures are judged for water, from which it can be inferred that one should request rain near the time of the judgment. He taught from here, from when does one mention the might of the rains? There we are. Some interesting stuff here.
Yeah, it's also that I'm sure in Sukkot also there's that festival. I mean that time where they do the pouring out of the water in the Beit HaMikdash or something like that. There's that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
I could be wrong.
You might be. I'm sure you're correct, and I believe you. But I can't comment on a case that I don't know before me.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it's Sukkot or if I'm confusing it with something else. But I think it might be there. But anyway, it'd be interesting. Yeah. So in Israel is the time of Sukkot generally a very rainy time of the year, or is the rain just starting after that? So
I would say the opposite. Okay. So I'm going to rephrase the question slightly just so I can help answer the question. So basically we have Sukkot comes, soon after Rosh Hashanah, right? Rosh Hashanah is look who's here. I said Logi.
He's coming on.
You had a lion, Logi. Slept in, huh? You sleeping today, Logi?
I went to bed 3:30.
So watching a Marvel movie
Oh,
or something stupid.
Because I couldn't go to bed. Struggling
Watching a
to
Marvel
sleep.
movie.
Oh no.
All
And then
right.
got up at 6 o'clock. What's that? Like 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 6, 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so me and Grant were busy. We've already, had it work this morning. We aren't watching Marvel movies at 3 in the morning. No. Okay, so if
But I had
you-
to tell you guys. I had to tell you something, eh?
Hmm.
This is lit.
Nachman,
What is it? Rabbi Nachman's Torah is already good, eh?
This man's going right to it's still
this
going
is-
right to the Breslov world, I'm telling you. It's
This
going right
is
to Uman.
lit.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
This is lit.
man.
I'm telling you. I finished 30 pages in less
Buggies.
than. Huh?
Yeah. So carry on.
I finished, man. This is like therapy, bro. This here right here is therapy. I'm telling you.
Oh, really?
You
Buggies. Send us like the first 5 pages, or like a photograph of the first 5 pages, or something
what
like
I
that.
was planning to do yesterday was you guys read from one verse and I'll read from here.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
We're actually doing Gemara lesson today. We're
Doing the Gemara today.
We finished
Oh,
Tannit.
are we?
We're saying Tannit.
Oh
Look.
yeah.
Loki actually has his own Gemara, guys, instead of using my phone.
Okay.
Mine's on the way.
Ta-da-da!
Yeah, he actually bought a Gemara.
Ta-da-da!
Mine,
That looks so beautiful. I mean, it's really big, eh?
Yes,
mine's
you.
coming. Mine's coming. It's just a shame. It's coming soon.
That's so nice.
Yes.
Normally
Hold
it's in the first 10 days of each Masechta, which is a bit of a shame. But
So nice.
Which page are you guys in now?
we're actually on the first page.
First
Where-
page.
Okay, so where the Gemara asks a question with regard to the language of the Mishnah. It's about 4 or 5 paragraphs down.
But have you done an
Okay.
introduction to the Tannit? What it is about?
No.
We haven't. It's about fast. So that's what it's about. Done. Introduction over.
Rabbi
Introduction
Adi.
over.
It's so weird that I asked you that halakha question before the class, Hillel.
It is, yeah. He said there is a hashgacha, they say in the
That's interesting.
in
that's
the
interesting.
Bnei Brak world. It is a hashgacha, right?
Oh wow, that's so interesting.
He says that the matchmaker from Shkisa, each time the Akiva walks in, that's what they say.
Oh,
Right,
wow.
Logi, whenever you're awake enough to start learning Gemara, we can resume our shir.
3 hours of sleep, man. I'm telling you.
Man, that's your fault. No, Havdalah was
Too much,
8:23 or something. You could have done already.
too much Avengers and Batman.
Yeah, honestly.
Anyway.
No, it's just I went to bed like 11 o'clock.
Man, that's like totally on you.
Yeah, no.
Why is that our fault?
What do you know? Hillel? You are only 13.
I went to bed at like what time? Like 10:30, 11.
When you get to my age and Grant's age, you will understand.
Dude, you're like 4. How old are you, Logi?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's continue.
Grant has a decent excuse. He has to take care of your children. Logi is just sitting on the
Let's continue, Hillel.
All right, Yalla. Where were we reading from? The Gemara asked a question regarding the language of the Mishnah. Do you have the Amud?
You got it? Let's wait for Buggies to get it.
I'm just gonna
Where do you want me to read from the
No. I'm gonna read, and then you can
from the
you can
notes
go
or
after me.
from?
Unless Grant wants to read, which in that case he can, or Logi. I don't
Oh
care.
yeah.
Who wants to read?
Have you
first?
read the Mishnah? Have you read the Mishnah yet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've read
So we
until
were on the
Gemara asked a question with
This-
regard to the language of the Mishnah.
so there's after the Mishnah there's a section which says the Gemara asks, and then
Yeah.
after that the Gemara answers, and
Yeah.
then on the next section called the Gemara asks, that's where we are.
So we're literally on Tannit 2a. Like we're on like very.
Oh,
first.
the next section Gemara asks. Okay, fine. Continue.
About Rabbi Yochanan. All right. So, which order do you want to do? So, who wants to start? I don't mind starting, but unless anyone else wants to start, please start.
Yeah, carry on. Hillel.
All right. So, the Gemara asks a question with regard to the language of the Mishnah, and let the Tana simply teach. From when there's one mention of the rains, mentions the rains, sorry. What is the meaning of the phrase? The might of the rains, Rabbi Yochanan said, because the rains fall with might, the might of the rain displays God's power in the world. As it is stated, who does the great things beyond comprehension, marvels without number. See, this is for you, this is for marvel. And it is also written, who gives the rain upon the earth and sends water upon the fields. Okay, so we're going to stop there. And this is talking about, obviously, the rains and Hashem's rain, Hashem's might. So, should we go to Grant and then go to Logi? All right. Here we go, Grant.
Okay, what do you want from me?
I want you to read the Gemara asks.
Gemara asks, from where may it be inferred that these verses indicate that rainfall is considered a mighty act of God? Rabbi Bar Sheila said this is derived by means of a verbal analogy between the term comprehension here and the term comprehension from a passage that deals with the creation of the world. Okay, so then he says, Rabbi, let's see how to pronounce that correctly.
Bar Sheila.
Rabbi Bar Sheila.
Rabbi Bar Sheila elaborates on this verbal analogy. It is written here, who does great things that are beyond comprehension, and it is written there with regard to the creation of the world. Have you not known? Have you not heard that the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, does not grow faint or weary? His discernment is beyond comprehension. This shows that both creation and rainfall are beyond comprehension. And concerning the creation of the world, it is written elsewhere, who sets firm the mountains with your strength, who is girded with might. From this verse, it can be inferred that rainfall, like the creation of the world, reflects God's might.
Good. All right, back to the Gemara.
The Gemara asks, and from where do we derive that rain must be mentioned specifically in the Amidah prayer? The Gemara answers, as it was taught in Baraita with regard to the verse, to love the Lord your God and to serve him with all your heart, which is the service of God that is performed in the heart. You must say that this is referring to prayer. Afterward it's written, and I shall give you the rain of your land in its due time, the first rain and the last rain. This juxtaposition teaches that it is appropriate to request rain while engaged in the service of the heart, that is prayer. The Gemara cites related statements concerning the idea that rainfall provides the evidence of God's might. Rabbi Yochanan said, there are three keys maintained in the hand of the Holy and Blessed be He, which are not transmitted to an intermediary. That is, God tends to these matters himself, and these are the key of rain, key of birthing, and key of resurrection of the dead. Rabbi Yochanan cites verse in support of his claim. The key of rain, as it is stated, the Lord will open for you his good treasure, the heaven, to give the rain for your land in its due time, indicates that rainfall is controlled by God himself. From where is it derived that key of birthing is maintained by God? And it is written, and God remembered Rachel and listened.
Shkaya. So we are now Tannit
Interesting.
2b. Whoa. We have done half of one page of the Gemara. Yes.
Yeah. One point to make.
One half of one page of the Gemara.
Yeah. One point to make on this part, like the Tanya makes a comment on this. So on a esoteric interpretation, what does this mean by this rain? I think it goes like Masia Ruha Geshem. Isn't not how it says?
What?
So they use those letters and say the root word of this letter as an implicate. The Tanya, I can't remember which chapter it is, but it says that this is actually referring to the seed, the soul, the seed, like a man's seed, literally, as a root, something like that. I can't remember what it says. And it's like descending onto this world on that particular time. That's why you have to say this blessing. And one of the deepest meaning about is this, like, it literally means the time of procreation and all the seed literally being flown into this world. because in Gan Eden, the souls are really, that's where it's actually all made, like that's where it's formed. And at a particular time, all of this descends into this world. And that is why here it is, even the Gemara, it is juxtaposed together, saying, as it is written, and God remembered Rachel and listened. That means opened her womb and she conceived.
Okay.
That's very good.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that is the meaning of that rain and the birth of conception of Rachel is mentioned together.
Very nice. Okay, so on that note, we're going to go to Parashat. See, so supposed to have it already reading it. Okay, on that note, we're going to go to Daf Sheni 2b, Tannit 2b. So just turn the page and there you are. Okay, and to her, he opened her womb. See, this is the Rachel. From where is it derived that the key of the restoration of the dead is maintained by God Himself, as it is written, and you shall know that I am the Lord when I have opened your graves. I believe this is referring to the Mashiach, but this is from Echeskel, chapter 37, verse 13. All right.
Because it's almost like this world Olam Hazeh is kind of like a womb for Olam Haba.
Good point.
So, so you have like a connection between the birthing, a spiritual birthing as well, between this world and the next world, and then physical birthing, procreation in this world, and then the rain.
Yeah. Nice.
And it's funny because our reign's only limited. We only have 120 years in this earth if we're lucky. And then we go, most of us are off to Gehenna, unfortunately. It really proves that Hashem is the Yad Chazakah and everything. He is the mighty hand with everything. All right, where am I looking? In the west of Eretz Yisrael, they said.
Why do you have to go to Gehenna?
Why? Most people go to Gehenna for doing any sort of sins, unless you're only righteous. This is, so this is in, what's it called? This is in Rosh Hashanah. They discuss going to Gehenna. I remember I took a picture of it. I can find it now. Grant, if you carry on, I'll find you the picture of Gehenna and the list of Gehenna. So Grant, you carry on and I'll find it for you.
Yeah.
You know, this Stooges chat has 396 messages, just which are just photos.
In the West, Eretz Israel, they say the key of livelihood is also in God's hand, as it is written. You open your hand and satisfy every living thing with favor. The Gemara asks, what is the reason that Rabbi Yochanan did not consider this key of livelihood on the list? The Gemara answers that Rabbi Yochanan could have said to you, rain is the same as livelihood in this regard, as rain is indispensable to all livelihoods.
This is the picture, by the way. So this is talking about the stages of Gehenna. So this is if you're pure, you're going right to, you're still in the book of life in Rosh Hashanah, right? You're still right in the book of life. Then it's Chetzi, which is exactly 50% or basically 50% sin, 50%, righteous, and you got Al Hashem with his merciful ways as one extra miracle or one extra righteous or one extra mitzvah, and he goes to Olam Haba, or he goes into the book of life. Then you have Chetzi Parashua, which is Chetzi, but he gets, I believe it's a fraction of a second, just like a dip in the bath of the Gehenna, as they say. Rav Aravit, I believe that's a month in Gehenna. Then I have Rav Aravit, and then I believe this is Parasha. This is 11 months in Gehenna. This is if you're wicked and your ashes get burned and you're under the feet of the righteous, is what the Gemara says. So if you see there, this is terrible quality in the crappy Zoom call, but there's a picture of feet. And this is your ashes under the feet of the righteous. Then you have kafol, which is just you're done. That's it. You're in Gehenna for the full 11 months. That's you're done. Interesting. All right. Thank you very much, Grant. Who is next? Who's after Grant?
Hillel.
I'm after Grant. Thank you. Here we are. Okay. The Mishnah taught.
Only 3 people on the.
Yeah, okay. The Mishnah taught that Rabbi Eliezer says, one mentions the rain from the first festival day or the festival of Sukkot, etc. A dilemma was raised before the sages. From where did Rabbi Eliezer derive this halacha? Okay. He must have learned it from the one of two mitzvah of Sukkot that are linked to rain. Did he derive it from the mitzvah to wave the lulav, or did he derive it from the obligation of the water liberation? You just lost Grant, but we'll just gained Grant. Okay.
Hello.
Can you go away?
Luckily, I opened the door. It wasn't me.
Oh, well, can you close the door then? Thanks. All right. Who's left the loggy? Your turn. You're up. You're up, loggy.
Is it where did you stop actually, Grant? I didn't catch that.
The Gemara clarifies the significance of this dilemma.
Oh yeah. That passage.
Yeah, it's just one paragraph.
The Gemara seeks to resolve this dilemma. Come and hear a resolution, as Rabbi Abahu said that Rabbi Eliezer had.
Wait, stop. Where are you reading from?
I think you're a bit too.
Sheila, could you just go away for like half an hour? I just restrain him for like 20 minutes. Come on, I'm almost done. Yalla. Thank you. Okay.
Where?
The Gemara clarifies the significance of this dilemma.
Oh yeah, okay. Did he derive this halakha from the lulav? In which case one would say, just as the mitzvah to take the lulav applies during the day and not at night, so too the mention of rain begins during the day of the first festival of Sukkot. Or perhaps he derives this halakha from the water libation, in which case one would say, just as the water libation can be prepared from the first night of Sukkot, as the master said with regard to the verse, and their meal offering and their libations. And certain meal offerings and libations may be brought even at night too. The mention of rain begins from the evening.
Oh, Sheila, please. Wait one second, Logan. I'm gonna go and get Sheila again.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're kids, they grand kids. They're kids.
I learned 1 hour share of Gemara.
I'm a bit lost. I don't know what paragraph we're looking at now.
The Gemara seems to resolve with the from Baraisa.
Can you see that part of he learned it from Baraita?
No, it's not the Gemara seeks to resolve this dilemma. Come to here resolution.
Yeah, the very last sentence says he learned it from a Baraita. Maybe look for the last word of that paragraph, see if you can find it.
Meal offerings, wine libations.
Okay, where are you? Read the passage you're on.
Oh, that's actually the right place, Grant. Do you want to read the whole thing?
What the Gemara clarifies the significance of this dilemma.
Yeah,
No,
so
no.
next paragraph.
No, the next paragraph. Gemara seeks to resolve the dilemma.
Oh yeah, oh you got there.
Yeah, that's what Logi just
Okay, so I just wanted to mention Hillel. Remember, so they mentioning here the water libation. That's the water ceremony I was telling you about. I was asking.
Very good. Okay, so anyone who we hadn't definitely hit record just before the shir because we're trying to wait for Logi. He didn't show up, so we started before you. Sorry, Logi. We were talking about. Grant was asking me a halacha question about do we clean do we clean the water in the Beit HaMikdash, or was it in the Mishkan? When did you say we clean it?
What does it understand?
No, I think it was just a general comment about because we're talking about when it's permissible to say that blessing. But I was just wondering just came to my mind about that water libation ceremony that was happening in the Beit HaMikdash, and I was thinking, is that the same time as Sukkot? So apparently, well, it's talking about it here. So
it's in today's Daf. You see, look at that.
Yeah. So
Hashem has a grand plan, as they say. Judaism, there's no such thing as a silver lining, you know. So Hashem has a plan for every one of us, for the smallest details to the biggest events. All right. The Gemara seeks to resolve this dilemma. Have we read?
Come and hear a resolution as Rabbi Abahu said that Rabbi Eliezer derived this halakha from nothing other than the case of Lulav. Some say that Rabbi Abahu learned this claim by way of a tradition, which was the source of Rabbi Eliezer's opinion, and some say that he learned it from a Baraita.
No, באמת.
All right? You good?
Okay.
Hillel?
Yeah, he's pissing me off again. Every week, honestly, I do 1 hour shiur, he can't even stand still. All right. Where am I reading from now? The Gemara asks.
Yeah, Gemara asks, what is the Baraita?
All right. The Gemara asks, what is this Baraisa from? Which Rabbi Ahabu, is that how you pronounce his name?
Abahu.
Rabbi, I believe it's right.
Abahu?
Yeah. May have derived his derived his statement. The Gemara answers, as it is taught in the Baraita, from when does one begin to mention the range in his prayer? Rabbi Eliezer says, from the time that one takes the lulav, i.e. the first day of Sukkot. Rabbi Yeshua says, from the time that one puts the lulav down. This is at the conclusion of Sukkot. The Baraita cites a discussion of these opinions. Rabbi Eliezer said, and since these 4 species, the lulav and the other species taken with it, come only to offer assessment for water, as they symbolize the rainfall of the coming year. And the symbolism is as follows: just as these 4 species cannot exist without water, as they need water to grow, so too the world cannot exist without water. Therefore, it is proper to mention the rain in one's prayers when taking the 4 species. All right. David wanted to grant.
Joshua said to him in response, but rain during the festival of Sukkot is nothing other than a sign of a curse. Rabbi Eliezer said to Rabbi Joshua, I too did not say that it's proper to ask for rain at this time, but only to mention it. And just as with regard to resurrection of the dead, one mentions it the entire year, and yet it will only come at its proper time when God wills the resurrection. So too, one mentions the might of the rains all year and only in their season. Before one can mention throughout the year, he mentioned it. Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi says, I say that when one ceases to request rain, one also ceases to mention it.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
This class was really good, man.
Good, yeah. This new
I'm not
format.
joking. I'm not joking. I was
I
was
just
very
think
down this morning, but after reading these pages,
Oh,
here's
good.
the
That's
thing
good.
with the Gemara, right?
The resurrection of the dead is happening for Logi now.
Oh,
my mind actually said,
Hazrat Shalom is dead, but I mean,
skip the class. But I said, no.
okay. Here's we
That's why
we have to make a choice,
even
right?
20 minutes late. But
Every single week we have how many
Well-
viewers? On average, we have 3 viewers a week. I believe it's just the 3 of us watching the same video, which is fine. But the people who watch our videos, we have to. I don't know if we should. I believe okay. There's 2 options here. First of all, I believe option number 1 is we do this class weekly, and we make the shearing class the Chumash classes. Thank you, Grant, for your Chumash. Shameless plug. We make those monthly, and we do this weekly, or we make the Gemara classes weekly. Sorry, Gemara classes monthly. I make the shearing weekly still.
What I'm planning to do is like Vasrat Hashem, like every day, do the Daf.
That's called Daf Yomi, yeah.
Daf Yomi, not to skip.
So the thing is, I would love to do a shear every day, but
Not
once
every day. There's
once
no time.
lockdown's over, that's going to be borderline impossible for everyone.
Yeah.
So I mean, we can
put like Chumash 1 week.
Oh, okay. It doesn't have to be a Zoom call. It can just be like we can always do the Gemara individually, right? And then
Yeah.
every week we can just convene and do
Yeah.
the Gemara of that day, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What do you think, Ron?
Yeah.
You are the master speech. We are looking up
No.
to you.
No,
You're like the
You're a big nerd,
you're like
the
Yoda in this universe.
Obi-Wan
Yeah, I
Kenobi.
mean, more than once a week would be a bit tricky.
Nice.
But,
I agree.
Yeah, if we could mix it up with the Gemara and Parsha, that'll be really good somehow.
But I really want to say that, that commentary book over there, I really I wanted to bring that into our class a bit.
Yeah.
That's like therapy, bro.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm really
we can.
interested now.
Huh?
I'm really interested to see what that
What's
looks
that?
like now.
We can always look. We can branch out to. We can have 3 separate shiurim, right? We can do one about Rabbi Nachman, one about the shiur, one about the Daf. We can, the sky's the limit here, really. But I do think, it's a commitment we have to make, right? We have to do the Gemara every day, and so if we stop doing that, we do lose.
So that's another crucial thing. Like, if you're doing it every day, the Daf Yomi, then it's like you got to spend a lot of time going through it again and again. And Azrael told me something very like the yeshiva style of reading. That is, you can either do it like really quick. You just go through all the pages, you can finish it. But the thing is that you may not actually register the whole thing in your mind.
Yeah.
You need to find a way to actually do that. So he said, if you're go to bed like 8 o'clock, even at 8 o'clock, go to bed at night, 8 o'clock, and get up at 2 a.m. in the morning and set like timing for like 1 hour for Torah, 20 minutes for halakha, 20 minutes for musar. And then in the evening, you come back and you refresh it again. So, and then when you go to bed, you try to think the whole thing in your mind again and see what you have remembered. So in this way, you never forget it. But if you're just reading, like sometimes how I do, like,
Yeah.
then you forget it.
We all do that. The thing is,
Mostly you forget, but
what makes it so difficult is because, right, like when you need to fill in, right? I mean, I believe Baruch Hashem, I've missed a day to fill in my life, right? The thing is, when you go into Shachar, it's a commandment. It's Torah Sinai. Like, I'm sure everybody likes to fill in every day, so do we. There's no debate about that. We all like to fill in. We all say Shachar, we all say Mincha, we all say Marev. But when you do mitzvot that are optional, again, I'm using that word very lightly, optional. Like, doing the Gemara every day, it's very optional. Most people don't do the Gemara every day, and yet you have to make conscious effort, like you do Shachar every day, to get out of bed. I'm loggy, never mind. And to push yourself forward in the letter of the Torah. All right. So, on that note, do you want to take us off from Rabbi Yeshua, Log Grant? Rabbi Yeshua ben Beraita, is that where we are?
that's quick.
Rabbi Yeshua.
Yeah, who's reading?
You.
Okay.
I think he actually read that part.
He did?
Yeah.
I read last time.
You mean the Rabbi Yehuda in Batera?
Yeah.
That's what you had to read, I think.
I have to read.
We didn't read this part.
Yeah, we didn't read that part. We actually read the part of Rabbi Yehoshua. We had to read Rabbi Yehuda ben Betira.
Yeah,
Rabbi
okay. So,
Yehuda
whose turn is it to read?
Anyone can read.
anyone. Yeah.
Logi, go read.
Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera says, on the second day of the festival of Sukkot, one mentions rain rather than on the first day. Rabbi Akiva says, on the 6th day, one mentions rain. Rabbi Yehuda says, in the name of Rabbi Yehoshua, with regard to the one who passes before the ark as a prayer later on the concluding festival, day of the festival of Sukkot, the 8th day of assembly, the last prayer, leader of the additional prayer, mentions rain, whereas the first prayer leader for the morning prayer does not mention rain. Conversely, on the first festival day of Passover, the prayer leader mention rain, while the last prayer leader does not mention rain. The Gemara asks, Rabbi Eliezer is speaking well to Rabbi Ushua. How does Rabbi Ushua respond to Rabbi Eliezer's powerful argument that one can mention God's praise at any time of the year? The Gemara answers, Rabbi Yehoshua could have said to you, granted, with regard to the resurrection of the dead, one mentions this daily. As although it is not fulfilled every day, any day is fit to be its proper time.
Goyech. Grant.
Mhm. However, in the case of rain, are all times when it falls is proper time. Are all times when it falls its proper time. But didn't we learn in Mishnah 12b, if the month of Nisan has ended and rain subsequently fall, they are a sign of a curse, as it is stated, is not the wheat harvest today. I will call to the Lord that he may send thunder and rain, and you will know and see that your wickedness is great, which you have done in the sight of the Lord in asking you, the king.
That's Shmuel 12, chapter 12, verse 17. All right. Very good, Grant. Thank you, Grant. Thank you, Logie. The Baraita, okay, here we are. The Baraita states that Rabbi Yeshua ben
Yehuda.
Rabbi Yehuda ben, thank you, ben Bitilia, I can't pronounce his name, honestly. On the second day of the festival of Sukkot, one begins to mention rain. The Gemara asks, what is the reason for this ruling of Rabbi Yehuda ben Belta? What are these names? Ben
Beteira.
Belta. Thank you.
Beteira.
Beteira. Okay. The Gemara asks. The Gemara answers, as it is taught in a Baraita. It deals with the source for the water.
Hey!
Zira, Shavuot Tov.
Oh! How are you, Sarah?
He's just saying hello quick.
Hey!
Yeah.
Mackie. The Mackie is here.
Culture is here now.
Hey, Shavuot Tov. How are you guys?
You good?
I feel like coming through the screen and giving you a hug, Sayara. Can I?
He's wants to hug you.
When we're gonna fly now? We're gonna soon fly.
We can't even go to Hamilton, let alone freaking
With
Granville.
Superman. Zahir and I have got extra powers. We can do whatever we want.
Yalla.
She came in the middle of the conversation. Hey, geese!
Vargis! Vargis, honestly.
All right. Just leave it up.
Daddy.
Yeah.
That's
So-
next Amud.
Where did we actually?
The
Yeah,
source of the water
continue.
libation.
Yeah. Continue.
With the source of the water libation on Sukkot, the Rabbi Yehuda ben Bitaria says, the Torah alludes to the water libation in its description of the libation of the additional offerings of Sukkot. The Torah uses a slightly different term for the libation of certain days. On most days, it is stated that the sin offering must be brought with its libation.
Venischa.
Thank you, Loki.
Venischa.
Honestly, I was born Jewish, and my pronunciation for Hebrew is more worse than Logi. This is in a singular form. By contrast, it is stated on the second day that one must offer their libations. The plural form indicates the presence of multiple offerings. And furthermore, it is stated concerning the sin offering libation on the sixth day, and its libations and sakahiha, okay, which is again a plural form that is referring to many libations. And finally, it is stated with regard to libations of the additional offering on the seventh day that they must apportion their respective animals, the oxen, the rams, and the sheep, according to their laws. Kem ish. Kem ish.
Yemish patam.
Thank you, Logi.
If you're finding it difficult with the English, oh, you don't have the Hebrew and the Aramaic.
I
with you,
don't,
right?
because I'm using this app.
Oh, it doesn't have the. Oh, it doesn't have.
So either you use the Aramaic stuff itself, either you use the Hebrew or you use the English, and the English is just sounded out, and that's why I can't read it.
But
Just
it
remember-
actually helps you to pronounce better if you have the Aramaic next to it.
Correct.
Use the actual pronunciation.
Yeah. When my Gemara arrives, I'll do that. Using
Yeah.
another plural form which differs from the phrase used on the other festival days, according to the law, Kamishpat, in the singular. All right, we should stop there because it's 8:58, I believe. Any objections?
There's only a few more. We can finish it up. There's only. I can read the rest of it. It only is just a little bit.
How much left?
So we are only finishing.
These-
Where is the stuff finish ending?
Oh, we only have like 4 pasukim left.
Yeah.
Four paragraphs.
I'll finish it. Grant, do you want to read it?
You go ahead, Loki.
Okay. These variations yield 3 superfluous letters, mem, yud, and mem. From Venischem, un, sacha, and kemish patam, which together spell the Hebrew word for water, ma'im. The letter yud is represented in un, sacha with the letter e, and in ma'im with the letter y, which is yod. From here, one learns an allusion to the mitzvah of water libation in the Torah. The Gemara asks, what is different about the second day that Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera took it as the day on which one begins to mention rain? The Gemara answers, the reason is that when the verse first alludes to the water libation, it is on the second day of the Sukkot that it alludes to. Therefore, on the second day, one begins to mention rain. The Braita stated that Rabbi Akiva says, on the 6th day, one begins to mention rain. The Gemara explains that this ruling is based on the allusion to the water libation.
Tov,
Say
Stooges.
hi.
Assalamu alaikum, Rabbi.
How are you? Are you doing? You doing Daf Yomi now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
We are trying to be.
Yeah.
We are
How is
trying to
that
be
going
like,
for you?
we are trying to become like a tzaddik like you.
Try again.
Oh,
Try
then
again.
you
Try
have
again.
to, we have to buy the book, the Ranaf, the Kutei Ranaf.
The Ranaf. There's a new book called Ranaf. Ranaf.
Well, great. So you're starting Tannit today, Mazel Tov.
We're almost done.
I did
Johnny.
a Siyum yesterday on Rosh Hashanah.
Honestly, if I didn't miss 10 pages, it was so annoying. I'm really upset I missed the 10 pages.
Hey, Prince.
No, but
Hey,
I can
Prince
miss 10 pages to
Charming.
everyone else.
What?
Yeah, Israel. Prince Charming.
Oh, what?
The cute little Prince Charming.
Which one?
Achid.
A chair.
How's
Achid.
baby sister?
Yeah.
How's baby sister?
Yeah. Did you see all the yeah? Go and
No.
tell
Yes,
me
wait,
thank you
wait,
for
wait.
all the stuff. Beautiful.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, you're welcome. Welcome. We're
Where
reading
is
some
that?
food for you
Yeah,
too.
you know how to
Yeah.
cut it out?
I can pause the
Let
recording.
them study.
Okay, well, we're almost
Yeah.
done. We're like here.
You
done.
finished
It's
already
okay.
the first page?
Yeah, almost done.
Okay, we
So
have.
you have to do now a daily one. You can't do once a week.
Yeah,
We
daily.
can record it once. We can learn separately together.
Right. So
Alright.
every week you want to do one time. Very
Okay.
good.
Let's quickly
Okay,
finish our.
guys. Have a good
The
week.
Braita stated,
A good week. Rabbi. What's up?
the Braita stated that Rabbi Akiva says on the 6th day one begins to mention rain. The Gemara explains that this ruling is based on the allusion to the water libation and the offering of this day, as it is stated on the 6th day and its libation. The allusion is written in the plural, which indicates that the verse is speaking of 2 libations. One is the water libation and the other one is the standard wine libation. The Gemara raises an objection.
Oh, wait, stop. Let Grant finish. You've done 2
Oh, yeah.
paragraphs now. Sorry. Sorry to cut you off, but let Grant finish.
The Gemara raises an objection, even if it is accepted that the verse is referring to 2 libations, one can say that both libations are of wine. The Gemara answers, Rabbi Akiva holds in accordance with the opinions of Rabbi Yehuda ben Batera, who said that the superfluous letters of these verses allude to water. This proves that the additional libation of the sixth day must be a water libation.
Yes,
Oh yeah, so that's it. Tannit to be done. So we had the whole daf done.
So,
yeah.
Wow, Tannit 3a now. Look at that, guys. Well done. Tannit 3a.
there you go.
Oh, yeah.
I have to read it again. It's got all the
I
notes.
need, to, I need to do 2a again because she looked at
Yeah.
me. So I lost my pen.
I'm trying to like focus on Shulchan Aruch at the moment, but maybe I should like try and fit in my daily daf as well.
You know how
Ah.
Azrael studies? Azrael starts from Mishnah, Gemara, Shulchan Aruch, Mishnah Berurah. He studies
Really?
all of that in like a chain order. He's still in Brachot. Yeah.
All right,
He's
I'm
still
gonna.
in Brachot.
But he's studying Brachot, but not like how we just study. He's studying in
Yeah.
a very top level, yeshiva style. Like from there, you go to the Shulchan Aruch or Achaim,
Ah.
and then from there, you go to the
Wow.
the other halakhic books, and then to the end, the Mishnah, Berurah, and he goes like that. So like get the whole chain order of things.
Yeah, wow.
We are just studying just one link. He's going through the chain order.
Okay, I'm gonna end the recording. And
All right.
we can keep talking if you guys want. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
And the record.
yeah. So, short everyone. Hope you enjoyed our new format. Sorry, Charlotte interrupting us, but whatever, it's fine. I hope we can pursue that further. We can all pursue Torah learning further. We can all have a good week, a meaningful week.
Amen.
And with the start of time, I need to wish everyone brachas, with everyone tzlacha, and I'm signing out. See you later.